السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. Brothers and sisters, during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, there came this one incident where the believers were now in Medina with some distance from their oppressors. And they had engaged in war with them a few times. They won once, they lost once. And the disbelievers, the oppressors, said enough was enough. Now is the time to annihilate them. Now is the time to get rid of all of them. And so they got everyone together, all the Confederates together, in the battle that was known as Al-Ahzab, the battle of the trench, the battle of the ditch, the battle of the Confederates, the battle of Al-Khandaq, in which everyone that had any type of animosity or any type of agenda or any type of disregard for the Muslims all came together. And they said, we will come and we will go on their own homeland. We will surround them and we will take care of them. The believers got together and on the advice of Salman al-Farisi, the Persian companion, they devised a strategy to dig trenches. They knew if the enemy got in, their women and children would not be safe. They knew their property, their livestock, their businesses would not be safe. And so they built this trench. Every single one of the believers were involved, including the Prophet ﷺ. He was not merely directing them, he was in the depths of the trenches, literally, with the rest of the believers. Around Medina, you will know that it is not just desert, but there's areas where there is lava, there are areas where there are mountains. It is an area of multiple terrains. And so there were parts where there were these large rocks that would come in their way. And they would hit it multiple times to break it. The Prophet ﷺ encountered such a rock and he's hitting it. And you can imagine the scene. Working day in, day out. Everyone's hot under the desert sun. They know of an impending army coming. They know of their families behind them and an occupier in front of them. This is it. He, ﷺ, being the prophet of mercy, being the prophet of vision, as he is hitting the stone in the midst of this trench, he says, I see the bracelets of Kisra in front of me. I see the powers of Rome and Persia, the two superpowers of the time. I see the crown and their bracelets being presented to the Muslims. In the lowest of the low, the Prophet ﷺ elevated everyone to aspire and to have that trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The hypocrites were around and they were laughing. This is a man who has no guarantee that he will save one city, and he is thinking of taking down empires. They couldn't believe it. But for the Sahaba, they had full trust. The true believers, they had full trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger. That things will get better and that victory would come to those on the truth. And that justice and peace would prevail. This was not the first time that the Prophet ﷺ said something that questioned some but made others rise in their faith. Back in Mecca, in the days when they had to live side by side, people that would try hurting them physically, morally, with their words, ostracizing them from their businesses, boycotting them. In the midst of all of this, the Prophet ﷺ comes out one day and he says, last night I went to Jerusalem. I went to Al-Quds. And I didn't just go there, but I prayed with all of the prophets and messengers behind me. Behind me was Jesus. Behind me was Moses. Behind me was Abraham. The prophets were all there. In a city in which it is reported that there is not a single footspan except that there was one prophet that once stood on that land. That with those that are daring to terrorize others, that are daring to use their weapons in an area that is the holiest of sites. On our top three as Muslims, an area which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Quran, الَّذِي بَارَكْنَا حَوْلَهُ, an area that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed not just the city, but everything around it. He ﷺ was saying last night, I went there, I prayed with the prophets behind me in a blessed city, and then I went to the heavens to visit my Lord. And I come back. He came with the gift of Salah, and he's narrating this story. Some of the new believers were shocked to hear this. The disbelievers were ecstatic. They were calling him crazy, they were calling him insane, they were calling him a madman. Now is their chance to pass. And so they go to the believers, do you hear what your companion is saying? Do you hear what your prophet is saying? That he went on some supersonic flight and that he somehow got a rocket ship to take him up? Not these words exactly, they didn't have rockets. The idea might seem stupendous to us now. Imagine 1400 years ago. They go to Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, and they ask him, do you hear what your companion says? Do you hear what your prophet says? He says that he went to Jerusalem and the heavens all in the span of one night, and he comes back and his bed is still warm. What do you say of this man? Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu to this point did not have even a single chance to talk to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He didn't say, let me get back to you, I need to check with my sources. I need to confirm the news. I need to investigate if what you're saying is true. I don't know if this is fake news or not. He says confidently two things that should put faith in all of us. He says, number one, if he said it, it must be true. If he, the Prophet ﷺ, said it happened, then it must be true. I have no worries there. I have full conviction in my Prophet. And then he said something that a lot of us don't often think about. He said, why would I be surprised that he tells me that he went to Al-Aqsa, that he went to present-day Palestine, and then went to the heavens? Why would I be surprised of this message if I believe that he gets a message from the heavens on a regular basis? And that this message comes down to him and gives us revelation? If I believe he can do that all the time, why would I be surprised by this news? The disbelievers had no response. This was the faith of the believers, brothers and sisters. Brothers and sisters, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has promised us victory either in this world or in the hereafter. It is for us to have that faith in Allah that things will be alright. That we will have challenges ahead of us, whether locally or abroad, or in any other regions where brothers and sisters are suffering. May Allah help them. But it is for us to have that trust and that yaqeen in Allah, that confidence in Allah, that He will set everything right, and that we do what we can in our willpower to assist. As one of our teachers shared, even a sajda, one sajda is an act of defiance. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Brothers and sisters, we have just left the blessed month of Ramadan. May Allah accept from all the good that we have done and keep us on the right path. It is a reminder for us now that we are out of the blessed months, that we remember that the Lord of Ramadan is the Lord of every other month. Those bad habits that we gave some pause to, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed us that it is possible to stay away from those bad habits. And that we just need to rewire our brains to understand that we can stay away from them indefinitely, permanently. Brothers and sisters, when you feel in your hearts mercy and you feel pain for those that are under greater afflictions, and you might feel powerless at what can I do, think about your state and think about what you can do within your means. And for some, yes, that will mean writing to the representatives, it will mean going to the rallies. All this is needed. But in addition to that, we must look at the connection between us and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Verily Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُوا مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. That surely Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not change the condition of a people until they change that which is in themselves. As one brother was saying, how can we think of helping others when we put our shoes and we can't even line them up? That when we get requests to, for example, sit apart, we might protest. How can we get rid of other oppressors when we might oppress people around us? People that work with us might be scared of us. People that live with us might be afraid of our words or of our actions. The Prophet ﷺ teaches us that the Muslim, the believer, the mu'min, is the one from whom everyone else is safe from their mouth and from their hands. If someone sees you and recoils, if someone sees you and they have to step aside, if someone sees you and they're scared of what might come out of your mouth, then you may be an oppressor and you may not know it. In order to remove oppression from others, we must remove the oppression that we might have on ourselves. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, قُلْ يَا عِبَادِيَ الَّذِينَ أَسْرَفُوا عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ لَا تَقْنَطُوا مِنْ رَحْمَةِ اللَّهِ. The Prophet tell them, say, O my servants who have transgressed themselves, who have oppressed themselves, don't despair in the mercy of Allah. Do not despair in the mercy of Allah. He can forgive all sins. What is Allah telling us? That we are oppressing ourselves. That when we look at something we shouldn't, when we say something we shouldn't, when we hit someone we shouldn't, we are in fact oppressing our hearts. We are adding darkness to ourselves. And that is not what our ummah needs. Every single action that you do is an action either for the hereafter or for this world. Salahuddin al-Ayyubi, the famous Muslim who had freed Jerusalem, he was once provided an offer where they asked him that just tell us how much money you want and we'll let that amount go to you, just leave us alone. Why do you continue to free us? Why do you continue to fight us? He responded, you and I are sitting in two different valleys. I'm in the valley of the hereafter, and you are in the valley of this world. What he meant by this is that we're speaking completely different languages. Your mind is thinking just about some material possessions. I'm thinking about my Lord and my connection to Him. And so, brothers and sisters, have that trust in Allah, that things will be right. If you do not have that trust, that's when you get to despair and hopelessness. That's what Shaitan wants. Even on the day of judgment, when people are being carted off to the hellfire, even at that time, Shaitan will say, I had nothing to do with this. This was all just you. He just wants to add to your misery more and more. And what we must do is fight that misery and fight that hopelessness. Because we cannot trust only on ourselves, for we are mere mortals, but we have the immortal. We have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on our side. I pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us justice and peace in the world. I pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives all of our sins. And I pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows us to have that trust in Him and Him alone. And that He grants all of us Jannah al-Firdaus al-A'la. And that He allows us to enjoy it with those that have been martyred, that have been slain in His way, and those that have suffered for the sake of Allah. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. وأقم الصلاة.
الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. سبح اسم ربك الأعلى الذي خلق فسوى والذي قدر فهدى والذي أخرج المرعى فجعله غثاء أحوى سنقرئك فلا تنسى إلا ما شاء الله إنه يعلم الجهر وما يخفى ونيسرك لليسرى فذكر إن نفعت الذكرى سيذكر من يخشى ويتجنبها الأشقى الذي يصلى النار الكبرى ثم لا يموت فيها ولا يحيا قد أفلح من تزكى وذكر اسم ربه فصلى بل تؤثرون الحياة الدنيا والآخرة خير وأبقى إن هذا لفي الصحف الأولى صحف إبراهيم وموسى. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا ألم نشرح لك صدرك ووضعنا عنك وزرك الذي أنقض ظهرك ورفعنا لك ذكرك فإن مع العسر يسرا إن مع العسر يسرا فإذا فرغت فانصب وإلى ربك فارغب. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده الله
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. Mabrook, I hear secretary married and stuff.
Inshallah.
Now like everything goes smooth.
Inshallah.
Take care.
That's fine.